So I'm just gonna key it on really quick here so I can key it on, and now I can just turn it with my bare hands. So our longtime customer with his SR powered Miata, as you can see, it's back, and it's actually back for another set of upgrades here. So the biggest thing that we're actually doing to this one is we are going to e-power steering. So he's got the hydraulic pump, but it's kind of hit or miss on the SR pump. So we're just going to do away with it altogether. As you guys know, we're a dealer for e-power steering. So we're going to go ahead and start getting going on the column. Now, so we're also going to remove the power steering rack itself, and we are going to depower it. A lot of guys will try to loop lines and do all this other stuff. It's far better just to depower it altogether, so you're not having to deal with like trying to put grease in it or putting some type of fluid in it so it doesn't wear. It's relatively simple once the rack is out. You just have to take it apart, and you have to cut parts of it out. Basic. So when you get your kit, this is what everything looks like. It's unpacked. This is the power harness. Then we've got the firewall mounting, the lower steering shaft, the ECU and the ECU bracket. On the instructions it's going to show separate, but on this one it was already attached. Obviously we've got the steering motor, the upper shaft, and then the wiring harness for the controller, and that's basically it. So it's pretty cut and dry. The good thing about the Miata kit is that there's not a core that's needed. Maybe I don't know if that's going to change in the future, but currently it's not needed. So unlike other applications where you have to send yours in, these are plentiful enough where it's not needed. So now at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to start pulling the steering shaft out of the car, obviously, and then once we get this all mounted, we'll disable the hydraulic pump altogether, we'll get on the lift, and then we'll remove the rack. Okay, so now at this point we're gonna go ahead and start removing the covers and stuff to get it ready to drop the steering column out. I'm not really gonna go over this. This stuff's pretty cut and dry for you guys to figure out. So we'll go ahead and let's get started on getting all that done, and then we're gonna look at the harnesses and how we need to route everything once that's completed. All right, so here we are underneath the car. So we got this 12 here for the steering shaft itself, and on top I'm gonna just put my socket on it so you guys can see it, but there's two 12mm on the lower mounting deal here. So there's these two. So I'm not taking this one out just yet, but I wanted to show it. So we're gonna just work on getting the lower mount loosened to make sure that it's good. I'm not gonna have any footage of this just because that it's a extremely tight spot down here. All right, so as you can see in my hands, I've got the nut for the lower shaft out, and then, or the bolt for the lower shaft, and then the two mounting bolts for the lower mount on the column out. All right, so at this point we've got this 12mm bolt and this one over here as well to pull the column out. Now make sure that you're clear of everything here, because when this comes out it's going to fall. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to loosen the bolts so they come down somewhat, and then I'm going to hold it up with my other hand to get it all the way down. All right, as you guys can see, I got the column out once I removed the two 12mm bolts out here. So, and I was able to pull it out basically one-handed. It's not very heavy, that, or I'm just really that strong, I don't know. Hopefully it's the latter. Anyways, as you can see, this is out. So this is what's included with the kit, is the new lower mount, and that's going to go in its place. And then we've obviously got the lower shaft that's going to go in here as well. And then there's this bolt that we have to put Loctite on it to lock it in place, and that's basically it. So we're going to loosen this Allen bolt here, just to loosen it, just to make sure that you can see that it doesn't protrude in the shaft, to get the motor in its place. So we're going to set this aside for now, and we're going to go ahead and just we're going to bolt the lower mount in, but very loosely. But first we're going to loosen this. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this into the correct mounting spots with the hardware, and we're not going to tighten this all the way. We just want it in enough. Then this shaft is going to go in, and then we'll get it all lined up to the U-joint on the bottom there. All right, so I got the shaft put in along with the two mounting nuts down there, and I even have the bolt on the inside of the U-joint already in. They're cinched up, nothing is tight again, so we're gonna go ahead and just, the reason why we don't tighten all this up is because we need a little bit of wiggle room just to get everything lined up, just to make our lives a little bit easier, and then we tighten up all at the end. All right, so this is the upper and lower shaft mounted. Now there is a set screw here that you're gonna have to remove. They drilled out a hole here for you to access it later. So I've got that removed. Obviously, we're gonna set that in this box for now. And then we've got the 3 bolts here to mount the upper shaft to the motor. Now, this is the ECU bracket, and it goes onto this bottom bolt here. Now, the thing is that remember, the holes in the motor are symmetrical, meaning that you can rotate it any way, but this is the correct orientation. So these are the 2 mounting screws to the chassis. This has to go to the right, okay? So make sure it's not gonna fit any other way. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab our soft hammer deal here. I'm gonna hammer this lightly to bring it down, and then we'll tighten these 10 mil bolts. And this bottom one, I'm gonna just kind of tighten it up a little bit, just enough, because we probably will have to move this. All right, so it took a little bit of fighting, but I got the electric power steering in. You can see that the motor is sitting here to the right, like I said before. These wires here are for the ECU Masters ADU, so there's just a lot of wiring here that we may have to move around. But there's one thing that I want to mention here that's in the instructions that I did not do. There's this step here that involves a relay that needs to be removed. Now, I didn't remove this, and the reason is that this has something to do with the stock Miata stuff. I don't know what it is, but we didn't have it on this car. I'm assuming it's from when we did the wiring on the SR swap, but it's no longer there. So if you guys are doing this on a regular one, make sure you follow this instruction here. So obviously, again, I did not do it because we don't have that relay or that bracket that's in that place, and it should be in the upper left hand side, so just double check that on your own install. But other than that, we've got the column fully seated in now. We haven't tightened any of that on the bottom yet. There's still a lot of wiring that needs to go through here for the stock stuff, but like I said, that's not our concern just yet. The ECU is mounted. I actually had to remove this. I had to loosen this bolt all the way out before I could mount the ECU. So once I got this out enough where there was a couple threads still holding it in place, I was able to line up the ECU, tighten it, and now everything, these 3 bolts for the column, these 3 10s, plus the ECU is all securely mounted, plus the 2 12s are, they're not super duper tight, but they're tight enough where I can still unscrew them by hand if I need to. And then, so I've got the wires routed from the factory just falling through this here, and it's going to go through underneath the carpet and everything, and then it's going to plug into the steering ECU. And this may be harder or easier for you guys, I'm not really too sure. This car doesn't have a soft top, and it's got the roll cage or roll bar installed here, so it may be easier for me, I'm not sure. But like I said, I just followed the factory harness here, going through this hole, and then coming out of the backside here through this area, and it's going to run over to the battery like so. But like I said, this stuff is pretty boring. It's just a matter of taking everything off, the ignition switch and the turn signal stuff and all that other stuff. So I'm not gonna waste our time doing any of that or showing you guys that, because you guys should be able to figure all that out. So wiring wise is pretty simple. You've got a fuse tap, just find a fuse with key on. You've got the little adjustment dial, and then power, ground, and then the motor cables. There's like 4 connections that need to be made. I've got these ignition switches kind of hanging down here, and the reason is that I actually need to get to the access hole on the lock here to get it all lined up to the steering lock on the inside of the ignition column. So we're gonna power it on just very briefly, that way I can turn this and then get it all lined up. So this is the old column here, and I just wanted to show you guys where we're trying to line it up to. So it's at these little notches here. It doesn't have to actually align to it, but it does make it easier. The reason why I like to align it is that you can get the ignition switch perfectly centered. So it's not like sometimes you can get them where it's a little bit cockeyed, but if you line it up to the lock itself, you'll always get it like relatively close to where it needs to be. So just a little tip there. All right, so we got power to the battery back there, and I'm going to show you guys that I can barely turn it with my bare hands. So I'm just going to key it on really quick here so I can key it on, and now I can just turn it with my bare hands. And we're going to line it up to the column lock down here. So as you can see, there's the little slot for the column there, and we can go ahead and put the steering column back in and get it all lined up. All right, so we got the wiring side done. Go ahead and key that on. This is full assist here. So we need to actually order a new hub because this one's got a nice little crack in it, but I put it back together enough so we can drive it, at least drive it in and out of the shop as we need to. But that is full assist, and we still have to disable the power steering pump in the front and then remove the rack to depower it, but that's it right there. Super duper easy.